first of all, when they asked me to do this, they was like, yo, you gonna be at Grammy weekend? I was like, I ain't going. It's like, why you nominated for awards? You're not gonna say I ain't nominated for the right ones. I ain't going. They said, but yo, so I guess you would turn down this opportunity to introduce Nas. I said, wait 1 second. What? You what? Yeah, we doing this dinner to honor Nas. We want you to be there and introduce. Like, the honor is such a big honor for me, you know what I mean, to have history in the building and people that's actually been, to have Stout here, to have people that's actually been involved with him from day one. Me, I'm not J. Cole, I'm Jermaine Cole, the fan, you know what I mean? And I'm speaking from that tonight, so for me to be on the stage is crazy. I had to come for this, you know what I mean? I had to put on a suit for this shit. Like, I ain't know who was coming and how they was gonna dress, so I had to do that. Another thing was, I was thinking about what I would say, you know what I mean? And I had this vision that I wasn't gonna say nothing. I was just gonna come up here and rap this whole song from him that I love, called Undying Love. And I was gonna rap the whole thing to let y'all know what a real story is like, you know what I mean? When somebody rapped that story. And I was like, I had the vision. I'm like, man, they gonna love this. But I felt like if I did that, I didn't know it was gonna be other presenters. I felt like if I were to do that, I would take away from my opportunity to explain what this man meant for me and what he means to, you know, I'm speaking for this generation that grew up, like literally grew up from preteen listening, you know what I mean? So I felt like if I'd have came out here and rapped, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So a few hours ago, I was like, fuck, I gotta write something. You know what I mean? I can't come up prepared. So part of me, if I read, I don't like to give speeches, reading and shit, but all this is from the heart. So this is what I wrote. All right. Who's your favorite rapper? And make sure you answer that question carefully. Who's your favorite rapper? Because your answer tells a lot about you. Who's your favorite rapper? The rapper you name tells me right away what you prioritize. Do you prefer the flashy rap, fantasy lifestyle music, trap music, gangster shit, backpack? Because hip-hop is broad. And I believe that when the genre is at its best, when hip-hop is flourishing the most, that there's something out there for everybody. You know what I mean? You think about the early 90s, like when I look back, and even though I was young at the time, but you had Tribe, you had De La, and then you had Dre's, you had this whole wide range of music. And I feel like when hip-hop is at its best, which we're getting there right now, you got something for everybody. So to each his own. But me, once I fell in love with the art form of rhyming, it was clear to see what I was drawn to. And it was a few things. It was introspection, storytelling, emotion, and lyricism. Those were the things I could see that I was clearly falling in love with just as a fan and somebody that wanted to do this. And during my early romance with hip-hop, there was one rapper who was and still is the poster child for all of those qualities that I just named, and that's Nasir Jones. Obviously, that's why we're here tonight. Now, I didn't know that at first. I wasn't aware of that. I know we got these stories, you know, everybody here could probably tell you the first time they heard Illmatic and when they knew. You got to understand, in 1994, I was 9 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I was 9. And not only that, I came up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, so a lot of things didn't, like, make it to me. You know, I got my early rap music from people that was around me, my older brother, people around the neighborhood, and then my stepfather. He was a huge, like, everywhere we went, that's where I got my rap music from, my stepfather. Everywhere we went, it was Chronic, it was Ice Cube, The Predator, it was everything Pac ever made, it was Dog Pound, the Warren G album, anything West Coast related, he was playing it. Mind you, we from North Carolina, but it's like, that's what he was playing. So I soaked all of that in. And that's the stuff that really made it to my radar at 9 years old. So when some kid from Queensbridge projects named Nas dropped one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, I doubt it ever made it to my, looking back, like there's no way this guy knew. Like, I'm sure he never even heard about Illmatic. I'm thinking about his lifestyle at the time. He was in the Army. He was just a West Coast fiend. I don't think it ever made it to him. So therefore, it never made it to me at 9 years old. It wasn't until a couple years later that I finally saw the light. Every time I hang out with my cousin, he was like a year older than me. He played ball way better than me. He talked to girls way better than me. But it's one thing I felt like I knew. I felt like I knew my music, you know what I mean? And he used to always come up to me and he'd be talking about this nigga named Nas. He'd be like, yo, Nas this, Nas that, I'm telling you. And he always called me kid. I used to hate that. I'm telling you, kid. I said, man, mind you, we from North Carolina, and now you go to North Carolina, it's like we super trapped out. We've adopted a very Atlanta, culture about us, and we got our own little style, but it's very South-leaning. But at that time in the early 90s, niggas in North Carolina was still saying, kid, son, like we were just trying to be like, whoever the New York hot rappers was. So he was telling me, I'm telling you, kid, Nas this. I'm like, yeah. I was such a Pac, like this shit was like wrestling to me. I was such a Pac fan. It was like Stone Cold Steve Austin or something. I was like, yo, yeah, he all right, but he ain't fucking with my nigga Pac though. I'm telling you that right now. He ain't fucking with Pac. That's what I was saying, mind you. At the time, all I had really heard in my mind was If I Ruled the World, and which I knew, I was like, yeah, that shit is hard. But it was still like, he ain't fucking with Pac though. So I remember one day we was at I'll never forget this. I remember the gas station we was at. It was we called it the Quick Stop. We was at the gas station. His mom was pumping the gas. We was in the car. His sister was even in the car. She was older than all of us. And she was co-signing like, trust me, listen, trust me. So he was like, yo, listen, all you got to do is hear this one song. Trust me. Just listen to this one song. I'm fronting. I got my arms crossed like, all right, whatever. So as soon as we get back to his crib, we go right to the stereo. And, of course, It Was Written had dropped. And he played one song for me. And he played I Gave You Power. And he knew, like, this is my man, so he knew what I would like. And he just said, listen. And he played the song for me. And he gave me a synopsis beforehand, like, I'm telling you, he's talking like this. And if you don't know, of course, everybody here know, but I Gave You Power. This man is speaking from a first-person perspective from a gun. You know what I mean? From an inanimate object that doesn't exist. He gave this gun emotions. He gave this gun guilt, sorrow. He gave this gun like a taste for vengeance. He was mad. He was being abused. And all of this in a gun. And when he played it for me, it's like a light bulb went off. Like I was like, oh my! I knew right there. I was like, oh my God, this nigga's the greatest. Like I knew it right then. All that fronting I was doing just came to a cease right there, and I knew that this was something that I was so thankful to be aware of, and that was at 11 years old. And it's crazy to me now because sometimes I'll be at a show and somebody will come up to me like this parent will bring their kid and they'll be like, oh my God, he's such a big fan. I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 12. And in my mind, I'm like, why are you listening to me at 12 years old? And how do you know? Because the things I'm talking about, how do you know to gravitate to it? But then always got to think back. When I was 11, I felt it, you know what I mean? Regardless if I could understand what was going on, I felt it, and I was smarter. So these kids are smarter than what we're giving them credit for, you know what I mean? So I heard that song, it changed my whole outlook. I was a lifelong fan. I've been a fan ever since. I made sure that I went back. First of all, I had to go hear It Was Written. Then I had to get I Am. Then I had to go do my Illmatic research. Then I had to get every album that came out, no matter what. And I was rooting for you like my favorite wrestler, you know what I mean? Like when we all know the battle, when it happened, you had a side. You know what I mean? You had a side, you had to pick if you was a rap fan. And I used to ride for my man, you know what I mean? Like, we used to get in bus arguments and damn near coming to fighting. Cause I'm a younger generation. I was in school, you know what I mean? Middle school, into high school. So that's how I was riding for you after I heard that song. So, all right, let me get back on track cause I went off. My fault. All right, as a rapper, there's very few greats that I studied and I still continue to study, and Nas is obviously one of them. It's obvious. I really had his lyrics printed on my wall. They used to have a site, it was called Ola, original hip hop lyrics, whatever, .com or archive. Yeah, somebody know. And then you print them out. So I would print these joints out, and I would print them up and hang them up on my wall. And literally, if you walk in my room, you might be like, what's wrong with this kid? I'm staring at the wall like this, just reading the lyrics because I wanted to know what it was like to be that good. You know what I mean? And I was rapping at the time, so I wanted to know, and it was my goal to be that good. I wanted to somehow try to master the style. I felt like if I read it enough, if I listened, I used to go to sleep listening into I Am. You know what I mean? People be sleeping on that album. I'd be trying to tell them, that man's spitting on for real on that album. I used to go to sleep listening to that album because I wanted to try to master the style if I could. You know what I mean? You can't master that style, but I felt about you how you probably felt about Rakim or Kane or G-Rap or whoever it was that you looked at like the God. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? So as an artist, you inspired me like that. And lyrically, he inspired me to set the bar high, to take that extra time with the lines. You know what I mean? To make the lines wittier, to make my rhyme slicker, the multi-syllables, people be sleeping on it's the subtle things that make great art. And Nas had that. And beyond pushing me and probably a million other kids out there that wanted to be rappers and artists, and even the people that just wanted to be inspired in life, he hit us with life lessons and insight on how to maneuver through this world as just young black men in America. I used to feel like I ain't grow up with my father. Even my stepfather I told you about, it wasn't like a real father figure, just like your mom's boyfriend that's around. I ain't have that father figure, so we looked to rappers. I looked to rappers for insight, and he was giving me the most, him and Pac, they was giving me the most insight on what it's like to be grown and black or young and black in this world and what to watch out for. And he's still doing that. The perfect example, the song Daughters. To me, that's like we've been waiting for a rapper who we've seen grow up to rap grown up. You know what I mean? To like tell us what life is like now with kids, or like what life is like when you gotta pay taxes, or what life is like when you got baby mama issues, like to really do that. And I feel like Daughters was, I can listen to that song and know what to look out for when I had my daughter, I had my son. So you still doing it. So on behalf of all your fans worldwide, because I'm up here speaking as a fan, and I didn't nobody that ever did no business with you as a fan, for all the creativity, the inspiration, and all the wisdom you ever gave us throughout your music, man, I say thank you. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you, dog, for real. Nas, everybody. I don't know who I'm supposed to...